this is Dr. Dan from Vitamin Pro, and we're talking about food sensitivities and food allergies, and mostly food sensitivities. And this is part 2 because it's a little bit involved, and so I want to split this up if I can. Now, when you talk about food sensitivities, we're going to be testing this in a couple of different ways, but there are 2 groups of foods that you're going to be dealing with. One group are foods that you should never ever eat. I don't care what you do, how you get tested, how much if you eliminate them for a year or whatever, some foods you just shouldn't eat. And there'll be other foods that maybe they're causing you a lot of problems, but you do eliminate them for a year or something, or maybe get treated by TBM or NEAT, and they'll go away, and that's awesome. And there are other foods that you can rotate in. You can have them once in a while, they're fine. Other foods, not an issue. You can eat them to your heart's content. So the problem is figuring out which is which here. And so that's why I recommend that we jump in it with Cyrex Labs. That's C-Y-R-E-X. Cyrex Labs Array 1, or Array 3, Array 4, and autoimmune thing is Array 5, which is really cool if you can do that one. It's expensive, like $600, but I recommend doing Cyrex Arrays 3 and 4. That's going to give you a pretty good heads up on what your situation is with gluten, which is one of the most common offenders when it comes to chronic problems. And Array 4 is going to talk about some of the foods that you might, if you're gluten sensitive, you're probably also going to react to as well. So it'll give you a pretty good idea of those specific foods. And I won't go through the list here, but you can look up cyrexlabs.com and they can get that whole profile. Now, the other type of testing is called ALCAT testing. ALCAT test by looking at the actual response of white cells when they're exposed to these foods. So I would recommend doing some of these. If you do the entire profile, it's about $1,000, which seems like a lot, but treating effects of eating the wrong foods is way more expensive than that $1,000. So, and the neat thing about the ALCAT is you can go back later and you can pick out the specific foods that you're likely to be eating, and to see what might have been the effects of some of the treatments that you've done, to see if you're still reacting to them or not. So, and it's relatively reasonable. It's like $50 to set it up and $5 of food, and you might want to test 20 foods. So $150 you can go back in and retest. So I like the ALCAT testing method for that. And what I found doing myself is a lot of the ALCAT and the Cyrex Array 4 overlapped. So here I've got 2 completely different types of tests with overlapping information. So that gives me an excellent degree of confidence that those foods should not be in my diet at this time until I get it fixed or whatever. So here's the procedure. Basically, I'd recommend doing testing. Do the ALCAT or the Cyrex 3 and 4, and do the ALCAT, and then do some TBM, NEAT on some of those foods. Repeat the ALCAT, and just to pick out the foods that are an issue, because you don't need to do all of them again, because some of them were fine before. And then you're going to have to go into the observation mode. That means you need to learn to understand what it is your body's telling you. So if you're suspecting you have a dairy issue, cut dairy out of your life for a while, reintroduce it, and see how you do. If you notice some symptomatology, then maybe you shouldn't be eating it, or maybe you find that it's not a problem if you only eat it, let's say, every 5 days. So that's going to take some time to sort out, because of that time lag that I mentioned between the reaction and the eating of that food, that sensitive food. So anyway, that's the basic overview, and I'll put this in text form on my website, so you can go there at ovitaminpro.com and look for that, and I'll have it all listed there for you. So anyway, that's a basic overview of food sensitivity. And the beauty of this is that once you get the foods out of your diet that aren't supposed to be there, your body will begin its own healing process. And your blood-brain barrier is going to be more healthy. Your gut barrier is going to be better, and you're just going to be healthier all around. Now, it's obviously not going to fix everything, but it's going to be a huge step in the right direction. So thanks a lot for listening.